The suitcase hit the damp pavement with a heavy thud, the same sound a heart makes when it finally breaks after years of being stretched too thin. Marcus stood there, his breath hitching in the cold morning air, staring at the woman he had called his queen for 7 years, now looking at him like he was nothing more than a stain on her designer rug. "Get out, Marcus!" Sarah hissed, her voice vibrating with a cold, metallic edge he had never heard before. "You were a placeholder, a safety net. But I just caught the wind, and honey, you're grounded." Before we dive into this tale of staggering betrayal and the secret that's about to change everything, we want to know, where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if you love stories about justice, hidden power, and the ultimate comeback, make sure to subscribe to GrownTales and hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss how this one ends. The Man in the Shadow. Marcus Thorne was a man of quiet habits and loud sacrifices. For a decade, he had worked 2 jobs, one as a junior claims adjuster during the day and another as a night shift security guard at a tech firm. He did it all for Sarah. When they met, she was a struggling artist with big dreams and an empty fridge. He had fallen for her fire, her ambition, and the way she promised they would conquer the world together. But as the years crawled by, the together part began to fade. Marcus became the engine, and Sarah became the passenger, always complaining about the speed. He paid for her studio, her supplies, her clothes, and eventually her lifestyle. He didn't mind the calloused hands or the constant fatigue because he believed in the sanctity of his vows. He thought he was building a foundation. He didn't realize he was actually building a pedestal for someone who intended to look down on him from it. On this particular Tuesday, Marcus had come home early. He had a secret, a letter, tucked into his breast pocket that he had been carrying for 3 days. It was a formal notice from a prestigious law firm in London, mentioning a grandfather he had never known, and an estate that required his urgent attention. Marcus, ever the skeptic and used to struggling, assumed it was a modest inheritance, perhaps a few $1,000 or an old cottage. He wanted to surprise Sarah. He wanted to tell her that maybe, finally, he could quit the night shift. But he never got the chance to speak. When he walked through the front door, the house was chaotic. Sarah was screaming into her phone, jumping up and down, her face flushed with a manic sort of joy. On the coffee table sat a small piece of thermal paper, a lottery ticket. "I won, Marcus! I actually won!" she shrieked, not even looking at him. "That's amazing, baby. How much? A few hundred?" "We can finally fix the car," Marcus said, a genuine smile breaking across his tired face. Sarah stopped mid-jump. She looked at him, and for a split second, the joy vanished, replaced by a calculating, icy stare. "A few hundred?" "Marcus, look at the numbers. Look at the screen." He looked. The jackpot was $500 million. The numbers matched perfectly. Marcus felt a wave of relief so intense he almost fell over. "Oh my God, Sarah, we're free. We can start our lives. We can travel. We?" Sarah interrupted. Her voice was flat. "There is no we in this ticket, Marcus. I bought this with my fun money, my allowance. It's mine. And honestly, looking at you right now, in that cheap polyester suit, smelling like coffee and exhaustion. "I realize you don't fit in the world I'm going to." The next hour was a blur of cruelty Marcus couldn't have imagined in his worst nightmares. Sarah didn't just ask for a divorce. She demanded he leave immediately. She had already called a locksmith. She had already packed a single suitcase of his oldest, most worn-out clothes. "You're a loser, Marcus," she said, leaning against the doorframe of their suburban home, holding a hand-drawn sign she'd made in a fit of ecstatic arrogance. $500,000 lottery winner. "You have no ambition. You're content being a servant. Go find someone who likes simple. I'm moving to the city. I'm buying the penthouse. I'm finally living the life I was meant for." Marcus stood on the driveway, the suitcase at his feet. He looked at the woman he had supported through her leanest years. He thought about the nights he had skipped dinner so she could have a fancy canvas. He thought about the letter in his pocket, the one he hadn't even opened fully yet. "Sarah," he said quietly, his voice trembling not with sadness, but with a burgeoning cold realization. "Is this really how you want to do this? After 10 years? 10 years of boredom," she snapped. She walked toward him and, in a final act of humiliation, raised her leg and delivered a sharp kick to his shin, pushing him further toward the street. "Move it, janitor. You're blocking the view of my new life." She slammed the door. The sound of the deadbolt sliding home echoed through the quiet street. Marcus sat on his suitcase at a nearby bus stop, the rain beginning to drizzle. He felt hollow. The betrayal was so absolute it felt like a physical weight on his chest. He pulled the crumpled letter from his pocket. He hadn't cared about it before. Eclipsed by Sarah's supposed windfall, he tore the envelope open. "Dear Mr. Thorne, we regret to inform you of the passing of your paternal grandfather, Silas Vane, as the sole surviving heir to the Vane Group and the private holdings of the Vane estate. You are hereby summoned to our offices for the formal transfer of assets." Marcus leaned back, a cold, calculated plan forming. Let her buy the dreams. I want her to climb as high as possible before the ladder vanishes. The transformation. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus Thorne underwent a metamorphosis. Under Arthur's guidance, the janitor was scrubbed away. He was fitted for suits that cost more than his old annual salary. He moved into the Vane estate, a fortress of glass and steel overlooking the city. But he didn't spend his time lounging. He spent it in boardrooms, learning the levers of power that controlled the very world Sarah was trying to buy her way into. He discovered that his grandfather, Silas Vane, hadn't been a ghost by accident. He was a man who moved in the shadows, a kingmaker who preferred anonymity to fame. Marcus realized he inherited more than just money. He inherited a ghost network of influence. Meanwhile, Sarah was making headlines. She had rebranded herself as the Lottery Queen. She was seen at every high-end club, surrounded by friends who had appeared out of thin air the moment the news broke. She had taken out a massive bridge loan to secure the lease on the Imperial Suite, the crown jewel of the Vane Development Tower. She had no idea that the anonymous landlord approving her application was the man she had kicked out of her house like trash. The night of the Imperial Gala arrived. Sarah had organized a massive party to celebrate her official wealth day. the day she believed her lottery. Funds would hit her account. She wore a dress encrusted with real diamonds, her neck draped in rented sapphires. She stood on the balcony of the penthouse, looking down at the city, convinced she was the ruler of all she surveyed. To me! She toasted to a room full of sycophants, to leaving the dead weight behind and finally finding my true equals. The elevator chimed. The room went silent as the doors slid open. Marcus stepped out. The gasps were audible. He wasn't the tired, disheveled man in the polyester suit. He was wearing a midnight blue tuxedo, his hair perfectly styled, his presence commanding the air in the room. He looked like a god among mortals. Sarah's glass nearly slipped from her hand. "Marcus, how did you get past security? And where did you steal that suit?" "Security! Get this loser out of here!" The security guards didn't move. They stood like statues, their eyes fixed on Marcus. "Actually, Sarah," Marcus said, his voice calm and echoing through the silent penthouse, "I didn't steal the suit. I bought the company that made it. And as for security, they report to the building owner, which, as of 3 o'clock this afternoon, is me." Sarah laughed, a shrill, desperate sound. "You, owner? You can't even afford the parking fee for that car you probably valeted. I'm the one with 500 million, remember? I'm the one who won." Marcus walked toward her, the crowd parting like the Red Sea. He stopped just inches from her, looking down at the woman who had kicked him. "That lottery ticket, Sarah," Marcus said softly. "Do you remember the morning you bought it? You used the debit card from our joint account, the account I funded with my double shifts, the account you emptied before kicking me out." Sarah's face went pale. "So what? It was my luck." "In this state," Marcus continued, "lottery winnings purchased with joint marital funds are considered marital property, especially when the divorce hasn't even been filed yet. My lawyers have already filed a stay on the payout. You won't be seeing 500 million. You'll be seeing half after taxes." Sarah's eyes bulged. "Half? 250 million is still more than you'll ever—" "But there's a catch," Marcus interrupted. "You've already spent nearly 40 million in advance loans, private jet charters, and this party, predatory loans with 200% interest. Since you defaulted on the proof of funds today, because I froze the payout, the lenders are coming for the rest." At that moment, Arthur stepped forward, handing Sarah a stack of legal documents. "And then there's the matter of the Vane estate. You see, Sarah, while you were chasing 500 million, you threw away a man worth 50 billion. The room spun for Sarah. 50 billion. "My grandfather's estate," Marcus said. "I am the sole heir. I own this building. I own the bank that gave you those loans, and I'm calling them in tonight." The moral of the story: the lottery queen watched as her friends vanished into the night, avoiding her gaze as if her poverty were contagious. The diamonds on her dress were revealed to be on a lease-to-own plan that was now canceled. Within an hour, the penthouse was empty, save for Marcus and the woman who had betrayed him. "Marcus, please," she sobbed, reaching for his hand. "I was confused. I was overwhelmed. We can start over. Think of the 10 years. Marcus gently pulled his hand away. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a $1 bill. He dropped it at her feet. "That's for the bus," he said. "The same bus I had to take the day you kicked me out. You thought money would change who you are, Sarah, but it only revealed who you've always been. Marcus turned and walked toward the elevator. As the doors began to close, he looked at her one last time, not with anger, but with a profound, quiet pity. He had inherited a fortune, but he had gained something much more valuable, the freedom to never be a safety net for someone who didn't deserve to fly. Life teaches us that the greatest wealth isn't what's in your bank account, but the character of the person holding the key. Never trade a diamond for a piece of glass just because it glitters in the sun. Thank you for watching GrownTales. If you enjoyed this journey of justice and redemption, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more cinematic stories. We'll see you in the next one.